Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. Welcome here to the webinar live and actually live from the GCCM in Dubai. So welcome to everybody. I would like to welcome my panelists as well, because we're going to discuss actually the telecom wholesale industry in the digital transformation era. Big words. What does it mean? After the session, you know all about it, and not from me, from the experts who are here with me. And I'll give them a quick minute to introduce themselves. So Cesare, maybe you want to start off?
Hello everyone, my name is Cesare Chalupa. I'm a head of growth in Enxoo. Basically what we do, we facilitate digital transformation within telco sector. I used to work for telecommunications for 15 years before I joined software, and nice to meet you. And looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Cesare, and we'll hear you later on with the keynote presentation. George, good morning to you.
Good morning, thanks, Eric. Yeah, George Slozeric, I'm the co-founder and CEO at Neutrality. It's a relatively new company. We're 2 years old, coming up to our second anniversary in January. Before that, I was a co-founder and CEO for Epsilon Global. Was there for 17 years, a long period of time. So look forward to sharing insights with you today.
Thank you so much, George, and honor having you here. So let's go over to the Netherlands. René, good morning to you.
Good morning all. René de Wademaker, working for Xperia, a global managed internet service company, responsible for supplier management. That's it. Good to be here.
Thank you, René. Let's go over to, I think it's Malaysia, right, Taufik?
Malaysia. Hey,
KL.
good morning, everyone. Taufik here from IX Telecom. We are a virtual network operator that's based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Cyberjaya to be exact, focusing on several verticals of network, especially on the airline, education, government, and supporting all of the major telco for local access all over the world. We also do design and manage complex network, especially for large telco all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Taufik, and René and Taufik, thank you for having you. Unfortunately, you could not be here live, but next time, but virtually we'll do the job. But you know me, I would like to have you here live, sitting next to the rest of the Brady Bunch. But all right, so let's move ahead, guys. I would suggest that Cesare will start his keynote presentation, and later on we're gonna bridge this into our panel discussion. So Cesare, whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
Okay. So again, hello everyone. My name is Cesare Chalupa. I'm head of growth in Enxoo, and I will have the great pleasure and privilege to having of today's keynote speech on wholesale industry in the digital age, new business models around cloud for service providers. And I will gladly share my thoughts on the topic from an Enxoo perspective. But before I start going into details of this presentation, let me share some words about Enxoo itself, because in order for you to better understand who we are, what we do, and basically what's our perspective on the topic. So we deliver digital transformation tools for telco industry. In fact, we are telco specific provider. We base our solutions on Salesforce platform, and what really differentiates us from other partners is this specific telecommunication focus. Our solutions are tailored generally towards wholesale industry, B2B enterprise telecommunications, FTTH, and the like. So, and we've been working with telecommunication for over 10 years already. We have more than 200 projects under our belt. And what we basically do, we orchestrate the critical business processes within telecommunication companies, starting from lead to cash. And this is the place where our experience really where it comes from. We do it implementing our solutions based API based solutions really for the telecommunications sector. And without further ado, let me go to this to presentation of mine. And ladies and gentlemen, the world is changing. The world is changing. The digital transformations around us is touching almost all aspects of our life, all industries, and everything really around us. It already changed the way we shop with the likes of Amazon, eBay, AliExpress, and what have you. It really even changed the way we eat, how we deliver our food, how we order our food with Bolt Foods, Uber Eats, and deliveries of this world. And it even changed the way how we get from one point to the other, how we commute, how we drive with the Lyft, with Uber, Bolts, and the likes. That it even somehow invaded our entertainment, invaded the way we spend time, invaded the way we relax. It effectively killed line TV with offers of VODs and streamline and streaming services. So what all those aspects of life and industries have in common really is this: everything is enough, everything is automated, no human intervention. You can order the service, you can deliver the service, you can really bill yourself, quote yourself, and self-serve yourself. Basically, everything is automatic, no manual work. And the question is, what all those aspects of life and industries have in common? What's the common denominator for them? I think the common denominator for them all is that they've been heavily disrupted. That all those industries have been disrupted. And guess which telco, which industry never been disrupted? Of course, it's telecommunications. It's still perceived as a very conservative, very kind of legacy, and with long-term investments, long decision cycles. So bulky, heavy, unwieldy, Titanic-like industry, right? So, and the last evolution we really had in telecommunications was a mobile phone and smartphone, but basically it touched B2C side of our business, but still B2B side, and especially wholesale, hasn't been touched by the revolution. So there was no really quantum leap, kind of. There was no technology that emerged out of thin air just to take the industry by the horns. So nothing really changed in telecommunications for so many years, and it's been perceived as a industry that is very much tied up in manual processes, especially involving salespeople, without much automation, without much interoperability. And then there's an industry with we very often see all those numbers crunched by spreadsheets. And spreadsheets, of course, are just a symbol of the way of doing stuff, because basically we have all those systems, all those separate systems, they don't talk to each other. And they generate very valuable data. But the problem is we cannot really merge this data to generate a kind of general, high-level, big-picture view that's really kind of can facilitate making decisions. And you probably know that multi-million-dollar deals are still made in this business by exchanging tons of emails. Everybody knows cases when tier one telco companies have to prepare a bid for a customer of 500 PNs all over the world, and it takes them 4 to 6 weeks to combine all the information to make a quotation and to prepare a bid. And so, as you can see, it is kind of a unwieldy, bulky industry. And the additional problem that kind of adds to all this picture is growing complexity within industry sector, within telco sector. We used to sell on net. But now we cannot really sell on net anymore, at least not only on the net, because now it's not really possible to serve like a big enterprise customer without buying off net, right? So it's a constant kind of process of moving from on-net networks toward hybrid networking. And we used to sell networks. Telecommunications was all about networks, right? Now we sell not only one networks, we sell security, we sell hardware, we sell cloud services, we sell data center services. So no more homogeneous, no more homogeneous services. Now we have heterogeneous solutions which are really complicated, which are really hard to manage in the long term. And all of those create bespoke solutions, different SLAs, different hardware, different kind of moving parts within each contract. And the thing that I just described a few minutes ago, just disjointed processes and systems, all those systems that don't communicate with each other, that don't talk to each other, that they don't create a general view, general big picture that would really facilitate making proper decisions. So in fact, it all creates a kind of problematic space for complex approval processes, for hugely difficult contract management, and many others, many other problems. But first of all, it creates a space for hub-like decision, because the top management does not really have enough data and not enough facilitation really to make proper decision based on the data that comes from all those disparate, separate systems. And on one hand, this growing complexity creates the push towards the digital transformation and creates the space for coming up with new business models in telecommunications. But in the same time, it creates difficulties, creates risk of jumping this already moving train, right? Because the train of change, the train of digital transformation is already moving as it's ever accelerating. So it's just getting risky day by day to get on board this train. So it's just much more difficult than it used to be probably a year or maybe or 2 quarters ago or maybe 2 years ago, right? And when we talk about telecommunication company, we usually see it as a kind of mix of inside and outside processes. I try to reflect those on this slide. So outside processes are in white and inside processes are in yellow. But really the future telco company, it's not like inside and inside separate. And in fact, they will be mixed. There will be amalgam really of inside and outside processes based on automation and interoperability engine. That those processes will have to co-work and collaborate seamlessly and smoothly based on those interoperability and automation engines. And remember the time, it was just a few years ago, or maybe a year or 2 years ago, the production that we used to think about the production part of telecommunication company. And by production, I mean networking, and network deployment. We used to think about it as a main asset. It took a lot of time to develop it, a lot of time to deploy it. It took a lot of capex, a lot of investments in general, and reasonably so. It was a good reason for it, because it was perceived as a main asset, as a main thing that really creates value, that really creates cash within the company. But we've come to this point when we start challenging this view, because now we can see companies and the representatives of those companies really sit on this panel that we can have successful companies working worldwide without the network, and are healthy, very well managed companies. So in fact, this part, business processes, and the orchestration of business processes is at the moment probably much more important than the production layer. remember that those business processes, or BSSs, if you like, were heavily underinvested in the past. This is exactly the place where all those separate processes took place, all those manual works, all this data that couldn't be merged into one view. They were generated in those in this business part. But now we know that by orchestrating those business processes and adding a good customer engagement layer could create a disruption in the telecommunications sector. Maybe this is the disruption we've been waiting so long for. Maybe this is the way we could really transform telecommunications from this old, bulky, and heavily and hard to manage industry into something much more light and much more effective, much more efficient. And with those customer engagement layer, we could have real-time problem solving, self-care, enhanced 360 view on the customer, much easier contract life management. And in those processes part, we could have, first of all, full control of the quote to cash process, full visibility, no more leakage on cost of revenues. Now, with all orchestration of business processes, we can really assign in each cost item into the revenue to the level of singular link. No more leakages on the cost side, no more leakages on revenue side, full cost management and full visibility of our business. Of course, it improves the sales excellence and sales experience in general. It eliminates error-prone manual work and manual human intervention. And last but not least, in this process part, interoperability. This is in fact something that will be the most important thing in the near future, near quarters, near coming years, because we have to be prepared as a telecommunications to kind of expose our systems to the outside world in order for them to cooperate seamlessly with our providers, with our suppliers. And we have kind of a ready scheme to use because there are industry standards, APIs, specifications prepared by TM Forum and MEF that could be used to create those in this interoperability, create those the seamless cooperation with the outside kind of partners and our company. That's I think that the coming years will be the most important thing. Okay, and of course, for those companies that still have a production layer or would like to have production layer, there's still a lot of benefits that could be reaped from the digital transformation, optimization and cost efficiency, automatic provisioning, full serviceability and feasibility study, full alignment of businesses and delivery to the level of singular logical items in the networks and singular physical items in the networks. Everything is possible. And of course, the question remains how to achieve that. It really exceeds the topic of this presentation, so I will not go deep into this one. But I would like to give you some thoughts. Self-service, zero-touch order management, CPQ engines, and carrier-to-carrier APIs that I just described, instant off-net access procurement, sales process digitization. These might be building blocks for this telecommunications of the future, or this digital transformation of the telecom business. Okay, thank you. I think that would be all, and looking forward to the panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you again for sharing the let's say a bit of the insight of where this conservative, non-disruptive industry is going, because that's what you said. Well, luckily we do have people on this panel who are working and led and are still leading, let's say, some disruptive companies. So, George, just to get in there quickly, I mean. you've been the master of being disruptive in this industry, and I mean, being co-founder and CEO of Epsilon and now Neutrality. I mean, what made you, let's say, think differently or act differently to be disruptive?
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I mean, we have taken our inspiration, I guess, from what's been happening in the macro environment. So I think probably driven from like 2015 onwards with the growth of cloud infrastructure. And, you know, we talk about digital transformation, but what is that? That's essentially an app economy. Everyone's using apps. And now post-COVID, we're using far more apps than we used to use maybe, you know, last year. And that will continue to be the theme. And where we take our inspiration from is, well, if this tsunami of data is coming, how do telecom infrastructure companies need to keep the pace, keep the growth? So there's lots happening in terms of more submarine cable, there's more fiber, but there's also been a growth of disruptive companies, software-defined companies that were changing the way in which customers could interact with the network. If you look at a traditional way of building network, you could be anywhere from 6 to 12 months by the time you select your POPs, do your vendor processing, yes, get all the legal, regulatory, licensing, cost approvals, you know, you're there for months. Whereas now you can literally spin up network, private network from continent to continent and across cities using applications. And so we took our inspiration from that, and we were going through a really complicated process in my previous experience because we were trying to change a traditional mindset to a software-defined mindset. Even internally, the culture of the company is like, people don't buy telecom services or software. They do it in a face-to-face way. So even that was a challenge. So ultimately, what inspired the Neutrality team was to move on, and having spent many years building SDNs, we decided to actually build a software-defined networking company that is providing end-to-end services with SLAs, but with no ownership of the underlying infrastructure, if you like, all enabled through apps and software-defined. You know, Tazada talked about APIs. That's, you know, our, I guess, secret sauce that binds and unites all the various providers together. So for us, that's digital transformation, building more intelligent, more agile, more nimble companies using purely software techniques.
Okay, thank you. René, because of course, we're going to bridge it now into the panel discussion. But René, I mean, Experio, I mean, I know the company quite well. You know it far better because you've been already a dinosaur in that company and knew it from scratch almost. But I mean, Experio has been known as quite disruptive as well, and to look to the business from a different angle as well, and not wipe out any possibility to have the best customer experience. So where did your and Experio's inspiration come from, together with the digital transformation? How do you answer that question?
It's mainly driven by customer demand, as always, right? We're all consumers, and was already touched in the keynote presentation. If you look at the telco industry from a supplying point of view, there are literally still some dinosaurs out there. If you compare it to the same companies and what they are delivering on their business to consumer platform, it's a whole other world, right? So if I rent or buy a new house in the Netherlands and I want to have a fantastic broadband connectivity tomorrow, I go online, I order my details, and the next day by courier a device is shipped, I plug it in, and I'm connected instantly. I get the invoice digitally, I have insight in my modem, I know how it's performing. Try to do that in wholesale, right? Try to do opening up an office in the Netherlands and doing the same stuff. So the whole digital transformation that we are doing towards our customer is filling in a gap that the current industry is not being able to. So everything that the customer is desired to want to, they want to have it instantly. They want to have insight completely. They want to have the best possible internet connectivity anywhere across the globe. And by doing that, by being the middleman and by facilitating and optimizing our suppliers' products, by putting something in the middle, which is the Experio service, we ensure that we can guide them on the digital transformation. And this is where we're helping.
Okay, thank you, Tofik. How are you doing it? How are you handling the digital transformation? What do you see, and how do you answer the questions of your customers?
I think a lot of our customers are still in the region, like the Southeast Asia region, where the transformation is happening, but not as fast as other places like Europe, across the region. So as Rene mentioned as well, it's all driven by consumer demand. So we are seeing a lot more, a faster sales cycle, a lot more automations that enables people to get connected even faster than before. So customers and consumers are looking for more. Always they want faster than what they have yesterday, faster than not just faster in terms of the internet speed, but also in terms of the processes, in terms of how things are done. So they always want, they don't just want to buy a product. So they want to buy the services actually. So they want, you know, similar things from different vendors. What they actually want is to be taken care of, to have a higher SLA, for example. So those are the kind of things that is driving the digital transformation in this region, in part of the world.
Okay, thank you. So just let's move in there slowly, but surely. What are the new opportunities and challenges emerging from the data-hungry products and services? I mean, what are the big tickets? I mean, you mentioned already a couple of them, but maybe you can recap a little bit, and maybe we can have the other guys joining us in and maybe telling us and the audience about some other examples.
Sure. You know, in fact, digital transformation is not really about like pushing your apps to the cloud, or the digitizing one process or two. It's basically first is about recognizing the problem which is within the company, right? So the problem that you have to address, and then having said that, you have to find a proper solution, proper partner to that can you know, facilitate kind of the resolving the issue you have, and matching it with the financial outcomes that that has to be achieved in the same time, because we of course we have to remember always about the financials, right? And in general, this is all about getting a proper starting point, because if we get this transformation right and we get that starting point right, we'll be ready to prepare the company, really prepare the telco company for the transformation of the future. We will create kind of the state of continuous transformation that will allow those companies to grow, develop, and react almost real time to the changes from the outside world. In terms of big tickets, I mean the big issues, I think this interoperability that I already mentioned is something that will be like a key issue to be resolved, especially by those big companies, because everybody knows the situation when you have like 50 or 100 proprietary APIs. It's very hard to manage. It's expensive as hell. Try to onboard a new customer, and it's not scalable at all, right? So this is the problem. So in my opinion, interoperability will be then the main issue that we should tackle as a telecommunication business in the near future. Kind of, we should be ready to expose our systems, our networks to the outside world through those APIs. Because, and coming to the kind of the business outcome of it, I can imagine that with interoperability issue, of course, it's only one kind of element of the whole puzzle, but it's a first element that will allow you to automate the whole process. First, you can have your order from the outside through API or through the self-service portal, and then you can process it automatically through the whole system to the provisioning or deprovisioning or to the billing, right? So it's just, and it all takes place without the error-prone human intervention. So this is all about it. And you know, a few years ago, the company that has a $1 billion funding would have to have like 300 people to do that. Now, 20 or 30, because everything can be automated. It all starts with the interoperability issue and APIs, and you know, exposing the network, expose the system to that software.
Okay, thank you. So George, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that or add things to it. I mean, the challenges and the opportunities, the big ticket items, but maybe as well, or whatever you see around you, but also if business models are changing towards it, or what do you see?
Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately it's all about the customer experience, right? I'll quote an example. Even coming to Dubai last year when I moved here with my family, you know, you go to the Do store, you want to buy a Do mobile phone. It's a painful process. You're there for an hour, you're standing in the queue, you're getting the ticket, exchange a million documents loads of times. And, you know, half an hour or so, you'll get a plan, quite an expensive plan. And that's it. Or you can go to the Virgin website, download the app, tell them, I want this SIM card, I want to prepay it for the whole year. It gives you a 50% discount. You can customize the options. For the kids, that's the best.
Done.
That's the best solution, right? And it's taking you 5 minutes. The SIM arrived at your door, you put it in your phone and away you go. And that's an example of what's happening on the retail side. That same thing is now coming into the wholesale or in the B2B sector, driven by SDN companies, driven by portals. But I say with all these things, you got to look under the hood, because people are sort of using the buzzwords, but you actually really have to look inside, see what's happening. There's portals and there's portals. I mean, we've seen some, it's an effort, but it doesn't really give good customer experience. And there are other solutions that are really excellent, you know. And ultimately, we as an industry will use many of these solutions. You know, we might use 4 or 5 different portals, or we might use 50 or 100 different suppliers downstream. How we interconnect all that is where I think the opportunities lie, because that will create far greater levels of efficiency. You know, we're coming away from the factory floor, so to speak, more into an intelligent business. So I think customer experience and intelligence in the business process is where ultimately we need to be going as an industry.
Okay, thank you. So René, already and George already mentioned it. Let's say the new technologies, or the technologies which can contribute and or reshape products and services. Looking at what should be used for it. So 5G, AI, IoT. I mean, it's a lot of things. But what's your take on that one?
Yeah, just quickly going back to the 2 previous ones.
Yes, please.
In the ideal world, we would like to have an end-to-end automation, right? Customer orders online and it's processed within Magic. And yes, we have that for such a portion of the world. And I think it was mentioned also in the presentation, where our customer demands are shifting, right? Well, we are working on a global scale. And that means that there is no single provider, there are no 20 providers, there are no 50 providers that are able to jointly serve those customers, right? It's moving from an on-net to a hybrid to a fully hybrid solution. Automation, fantastic, but no matter how you look at it, we are far from there in order to achieve all these customer desired solutions. Because we can fix it in the Netherlands, it's easy. The UK is even perfect, fully redundant, fully automated. We can serve any customer need fully automated there. But that's not in the world right now, and it's going to take a while, if not ever impossible, to have manual processes in between them. And that's the world what we live in, and that is what we try to facilitate as smoothly as possible for our customers. Getting back to your question, Eric, how do we see technologies change the industry? I think separating 2 parts. If I look what we do with our optimized IP core, the heavily part the AI part that we have in there, which optimizes the routes for our customers on a global level, that is some high-tech automation that is really changing how we look at internet, right? It's not vanilla anymore, but you actually have a lot of different flavors. And that's one of the automation. A second part, which is not AI, but it's more like machine learning. We've got so many data points across the globe of knowing what is where that we gathered in the past 15 years. We can put algorithms on top of that in actually starting to predict the availability of services in a certain region at a certain cost. And that is something that we need to move forward to, because what I explained earlier is that the whole world on automation and APIs and what have you is going to take too long. So we are bridging that gap by putting something in between that is actually going to fulfill, call it internal automation, to do the work for the suppliers that they can't do themselves. Looking at technology perspective from a customer point of view, we can serve them with any technology. That means if there is 5G, if there is LEO, the OneWebs, the Starlinks, any connectivity that is needed for our customer, we incorporate that in the mix. So for us, it's just another way to serve the customer, and we pick the building block where we think it's fit.
Okay, thank you. Taufik, you want to join?
Yeah, sure. I think what we the customers wanted to have has changed over the years, because we are seeing consumers are more looking for new business model, like data on demand, pay as you go. So they are not looking for services that we provide as a long-term deal. Like, they are not just buying the circuit as a circuit. So they want it to be able to be changed as you go. Like today, they are really ready to commit with you 1 gig, but they want to be able to get 10 gig tomorrow and then back to 1 gig and on another day. So these are the kind of demand that can only be achieved by better technology, and AI will play a lot of part in making this happen. Because predictability of how consumers are using the traffic and stuff. So I think technology is not just the determining factor in changing the model or changing the world of telecommunication. It's still the consumer, the way consumers are using the data, how they actually consume it. So that actually is the main factor, and technology will be supplying the solution to all these the needs of customers.
Okay, thank you. I mean, you're talking about personal data, then immediately I think about data protection. So I think as important surveillance, security, and personal data privacy, I mean, it is very important, becoming more and more important. That's what we see, especially in these COVID times, because without the COVID app, I mean, having digital currency coming up and all these kind of things, I mean, data protection will be there. And especially on the privacy, there are a lot and a huge amount of questions. So what are the challenges, George, we are facing there?
Yeah, again, this is, an interesting topic. We have seen the proliferation of cloud happening at a massive scale in the major markets. Now we're seeing that proliferation happening in the emerging markets. We see a lot of new data center companies. It's a very active space, lots of M&A, lots of new ones popping up. And ultimately, that is the big concern. Do we know where our data resides? And there's lots of initiatives worldwide there to kind of govern that information. But again, for network providers, I think the opportunities and the challenges is in the whole overlay networking component. We will have to manage network in a certain way, in a compliant way to where the infrastructure is. And so we put in far more intelligence and awareness in the management of traffic, as as the kind of traditional networks evolve to more internet-based services, connectivity is becoming more ubiquitous. So we might use mobile, we might use internet, we might use a fixed fiber network for the delivery of services. Ultimately, knowing where your traffic is going, handling that, assuring that, securing that, those become, you know, new opportunities for
And I can imagine
service providers.
sorry to drop it, but as well, the demand will come to the network
for
layer as
sure,
well.
for sure. I
Big
mean,
time.
I think cash is coming to the end of it. I mean, COVID has accelerated that. I mean,
Yeah.
we're probably all using Apple Pay or Alipay, but still it varies from market to market. You know, you go to some markets and they insist on cash, and in other places they say we don't want cash, we just want mobile payments. So this is happening in every walk of life, whether it's medical data, talking to your GP over the video conference, or if you look at the way the kids today, we talk about inspiration. I mean, let's just look at the way they study today, right? I don't think they ever, well, at least mine, haven't picked up a book in years. Everything's done on the Teams and the PowerPoint.
What's that, a book? Book is what?
Yes,
What?
something like
Library?
comes
What?
with certain things like this.
On paper?
But this is the change. But securing that is key, right? Because in a personal context, but in a corporate circuit, IP, you know, intellectual property, when you're doing R&D, how are you not ensuring that, you know, corporates are doing amazing things to try and lock down their network, but people are still photographing screens on WhatsApp, and the stuff is still going out. How is that being secured? So there's a whole, you know, we could talk about this for hours. And I guess as network providers, you know, René touched on it. They're specializing in providing data to their customers on what kind of infrastructure they're using. I think there's many opportunities there to innovate, and ultimately, you know, this whole managed internet, securing the internet becomes a very big growth area of its own.
Okay, thank you. Cesare, wanna, because I mean, and I know we can talk for this for hours, but I just wanted to tip on this one as well, because it is as important, and it's all around us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you mentioned those buzzwords, kind of, or technologies that are coming to our telecommunication networks. You know, René, you know, tackled the case of AI, which is very important, but it's 5G and IoT, and we all agree that there are buzzwords, right? But they are the thing at the same time, right? So referring to this data privacy, there will be in the coming years, there will be probably 20 or 30 billion different devices, IoT devices around the world in IoT networks. They will all generate data. They will all generate data that are kind of personal as well, because we will have those devices in our houses. They will report on us.
I love the fridge, you know, the fridge, whenever it's empty, you know, I'm Dutch, I like milk.
Yeah, the fridges.
So when it's empty, it's ordered immediately to the super. I love
exactly.
that. I love that.
So you can imagine how much data can be, you know, squeezed out of this information about your fridge, about your Hoover, about your electric meter and stuff. Of course, so this is about the IoT. 5G is kind of, you know, related topic, because IoT will be using 5G soon enough. So this is a huge amount of data that will be generated by those technologies. And it's, you know, apart from the privacy of data that we'll have to tackle somehow in the near future, coming out from all those devices, we'll have to tackle a lot of data that has to be transmitted as well, right? Because you know, the last report by Forrester told us that the traffic between Q1 21 and Q1 20 increased by 50%. Only 50%. You can imagine what's going to happen with all those IoT devices and all this 5G. It's going to increase, I don't know, 10-fold, 20-fold. Just a question of time. So we have to be prepared to transport all this data, to kind of secure this data, and we have to be prepared for the competition as well, because with 5G and this ultra fast broadband, low latency connectivity, ultra fast connectivity, will have potential substitution for terrestrial networks as well. So we have to have all this in mind.
Okay, gents. Coming slowly but surely a little bit to the end. I would like to get your outlook for, let's say, the coming future. I know we do not all have the glass ball, because I mean, in my room I have 20 for sure. But no, just kidding. Taufik, how do you see the future? What's heading towards us? What will we see? What do we need to look out for? What's your take on that?
Definitely the 5G, I think, for me, because now people are starting to understand what 5G is all about. In Malaysia, in this part of the world, people are talking about 5G, but they don't really understand and see the potential actually until it actually happens. Because to me, 5G will be replacing fiber optics pretty much. So especially at the local access level. So for now, people are talking about 5G for their mobile phone. They're talking about, you'll be able to stream video contents and stuff. Those are what people are talking right now, because they don't really see the potential of 5G yet. But once 5G is here, once they're starting to use 5G for business application, be able to connect to your devices all over the world, without having any cable connectivities at all, be able to scale your business faster, because you don't have to worry about all these cabling problems, especially in the big industries like oil and gas, healthcare. So this will, once the reality really sinks in, but how much data, how much faster it will be, how much real time it will be, then I think people will be using data in much different way than how things are being done right now. I think that's the key point that I'm really looking forward to.
Okay, thank you, Taufik. Renee, how does your future look like?
You're on mute.
The famous words. You are on mute. Thank you, Renee.
That's why I like to be present in person instead of behind the screen, right? You can just give me a nod and say, yeah, go ahead. So what is the future bringing us? And what we think is, like, we've always been on this road as Experio in building the world e-commerce platform on managed internet services. That's our goal on a global scale, because we think that is the demand, and how we are going to facilitate that. Indeed, 5G is coming. We already touched Leo. All those technologies are great. And when 5G is rolled out, we will be looking at 6G, and we will be looking at the next technology. And we will be looking at, in the end, it's just a matter of connectivity, right? And as soon as we have it, people will find the killer app, and they will find, we're now all accustomed to Google Maps, right? And we can have it with satellite pictures because of the more data that we can get through. But we also do not need to overestimate how fast that's going. Being in Washington last week, and sometimes having difficult to even get a 4G signal on my phone is like, okay, well, come on, guys, we're talking about 5G, and I can't get a decent 4G in a highly business residential area. So yes, the future is coming, but I think the future is more right now in serving, and that's from our point of view, in serving our customers the best possible connectivity solution towards their app, because they are going in that digital transformation, moving away from the private MPLS networks towards the cloud-centric networks. That transition is going faster and faster. We already knew it was moving, but we see that moving faster. So with the overlay, the security appliances, the more important data protection becomes. I think those are the fastest, quick innovations where everybody will benefit from. It's more on a software level and an automation level than on a technology connectivity level.
Okay. Technology will be a tool, correct? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So thank you, Renee. George, what is your takeaway for this session, and what can you share with the audience of what they have to look out for?
I mean, yes, great sharing and learning, across the board. But for us, it's always been the theme. It's customer experience. Customers have a challenge. They come to you. They need connectivity delivered. We should use these. What I used to say, and I still say, if you don't have a software roadmap in your company and you're not bringing software skill set into your company, you probably have a very bleak future. Lights will be going out soon. But we harness the software to really create, intelligent, automated companies that create good customer experience. And I think in all of our businesses, respective businesses, I think that will be the thing. Yes, we are providing essentially connectivity, but how we provide it, how we consume it, how we consult our customers on the best way to build networks, I think that's where, from a high level, where we should be focusing.
Okay, thank you. Cesare, some last famous words from your side.
Okay, after all those on-point remarks, it's kind of hard to add something, but I'd say that the future is in automation, interoperability, software-defined networks, definitely software-defined networks, and I think that AI will be a big thing in the near future. Because for example, the routing application that René just mentioned is something very nice for B2B business. But there are other stuff as well. We could use intelligent chatbots to serve not only B2C customers but B2B customers as well. So customer service. We can predict churn, really. Combining all those clues from the network or from the way our customers behave, we can try to predict what churn and where it will occur. So I think that AI will be next to all those technological things that was mentioned by René and Tafik and George. I think AI will be a big thing in your near future. And of course, combined with all those defined networks and stuff.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this show. I wanted to say this, but to this panel discussion here live from Dubai at the GCCM, and of course from KL with Tawfiq and René out of the beautiful southern part of the Netherlands. And so I would firstly we would like to thank Tawfiq, René, George, and Cesare here. I would like to thank Enxoo for sponsoring this session, and for you all out there to watching us, listening to us, and I hope you got something out of it. And for that, I would like to thank also the small audience here, but hopefully the bigger audience out there. And I wish you all the best. Ciao for now, and stay tuned with us because we have more to come. Bye-bye.